Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Natsu Comic Book. This being a show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Mechanical Marie Season 1, Episode 2. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, there's a big party with a whole bunch of powerful and official people there, and Arthur has to host this party because his dad's not around, and it's just kind of I have to prove I am worthy to be the successor, and I can't let anything fall apart because I'll look bad upon my father. And so once again, maybe there's a level of, I feel like maybe his father's never treated him in this manner, but maybe there's some level of and part of him that feels like I need to meet my father's expectations. In fact, I need to exceed them because it's the only way I think I could get my father's love, even though maybe that's never been a thing. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But once again, it's like he's got a lot to prove, not only to other people, but more so himself, feeling like he wasn't like a mistake, like to be the one position here. He doesn't probably believe himself to deserve it, but it's like, I was given this opportunity. My father wants to believe in me. I'm going to try, like I said, rise up to, if not exceed those expectations. So, and obviously Marie's dedicated to do what she can to help out Arthur in any shape or form, and does everything she can to be on top of looking after the party. Anytime someone broke in, she immediately did a I don't know if it's not considered a drop kick, but like a heel kick, bringing down her leg, knocking a guy out. Cool. Got rid of that intruder. There's another guy later on that's setting a bomb. I don't know if I'd assume the earlier guy was also hired by Maynard, who was like watching from nearby. So it's like, oh, so he's just going to be the continuous threat. I mean, it seems like the rest of the family's in the same boat, but I'm curious if Maynard's kind of like the main foil in the regards that he represents the entire family that's trying to like get rid of Arthur. Or is this just him soloing it himself, and the other the other family members just haven't gotten involved yet, or do they all support him trying to take down? I'm curious how that shakes out, because it seems like he's just going to be that continuous threat throughout the series, But he's like such a minimum threat, but maybe there will be a point where he ends up being a severe threat. But for now, he just keeps getting thwarted. I mean, Arthur even mentioned it last time. It's like, they've been through this rigmarole of like him dealing with over 160 8 other attempts by his brother. So we also got introduced to Carl and Charlotte, which are like his aunt and uncle. But I'm like, because even Marina's like, oh, I thought he was feuding with his entire family, but it seems like they're the only family members that, for the most part, we don't know if there are others, but they might be the only ones who are on Arthur's side. And I'm curious if there's a reason for that. Do they just love and adore him, and maybe they've been attached at him at the hip to him since he was a kid? I mean, maybe it's just I think probably the simple of it is simply they like him because they're good, decent people, not like the rest of his family, which are greedy. I'd assume there's got to be people on his dad's side of the family, but it also might not be blood relatives. They might just be family friends that are like family. So, and I like that we get introduced to Charlotte because she seems to be the most insightful one, because she's like, hey, something going on, something seems a little different about you, and her eye and everything. I think it's kind of interesting, how she almost has her eye has that sparkle to it when she closes the other one, almost like she's focusing. And then she gets introduced to Maria. It's like, oh yeah, look at this robot. Oh, look at her, she's so real. Look, almost like all these pores. And obviously Marie's nervous, and so her and Roy are doing everything they can to keep the distance, to try and keep up this charade. I love Marie dealing with the cat, balancing all those dishes, and then later also dealing with all those glasses. So doing everything she can as an expert fake robot can in this situation. But I think it's really interesting that Carl and Charlotte talk about this later on, about how different Arthur is. They see how happy he is, and even later on, she definitely saw through it, but she's not trying to blow up the spot, because I think Charlotte sees. Carl probably isn't as an intuitive, but Charlotte seems to be the more intuitive one, where she's like, oh, I see through this facade, but I'm not going to break it up, because she's like, it's probably good for Arthur because she knows how isolated he keeps himself because he doesn't trust people. And for her, this will be an opportunity for him to grow and be able to trust someone. It's like the truth will probably come out, but she's not going to be the one to reveal it. It's like, this is good for Arthur. And obviously, for you to go so far and beyond, I think for her, it's also like, I can see and hear and know how much you care for him, how far above and beyond you go for him. So, like, why would I ruin that? It's kind of good for both of you. Because when she saw Marie, she probably, like, saw through, like, oh, like, it isn't just, like, a one-way street. Like, it's a two-way street. You care about Arthur like he cares about you. Sadly, because of the whole robot situation, there's only so much Marie can do. She can comfort him, like, when he's laying in her lap, but it's not a situation of, like, oh, I can, like be emotionally vulnerable with you or to you or open up to you. That would just defeat the whole purpose. And so at one point, I can't remember if it was, I believe it was, it this sequence, or no, it's a later sequence, but he does something in this moment to kind of pull her closer, and it just catches her off guard, and she kind of panics and runs away. But then later on, when she's trying to do her quote unquote job, she's messing up because, like, her heart was pounding so fast, and I think she's not used to that. Maybe it just because, like, we see, like, she's expressionless. That doesn't necessarily mean she doesn't feel anything. It's just she doesn't always show it in her face. But maybe, like, her emotions hasn't always been something that maybe it's never always been clear even to her what she's feeling. Obviously, we get those little moments. I just like how it's, like, animated, where it's just, like, or designed where it's like you see her body, and then you get, like, the circle where it's just, like, the real emotion where she's kind of like nervous or freaked out. But yeah, she's kind of messing up left and right, trying to, like, serve some water, splashing, like, a pitcher on Roy, and it's just kind of like, right, I'm kind of messing up. She deals with the guy who's trying to plant a bomb, and everyone's immediate thought is, oh my god, this robot's going berserk. But then, and she's like, her concern is, oh my god, I've ruined this for Arthur. How could I do this? Like, this is my one job. But then Arthur's like, nope, she was just dealing with a guy who planted a bomb. In fact, it's because of her you guys are all safe. Like, the fact is, he immediately nips any misunderstanding in the bud. And then later that night, I guess because she made such a point early on, like, oh, my priority right now is to take care of the party. And now it's like, oh, the party's done. We can have time together. In fact, he got a special dress prepared for her. And it's just kind of like, for him, it's nice. And, it's like, oh, you've been a little off. And she's like, oh my God, is he figuring me out and stuff like that? Now, I think, but no, he wasn't close to figuring her out. And I think it was like the whole conversation about what she eats or whatever. It's like, oh, what do you run on? And she's like, AA battery. And he's like, really? And she's like, oh my God, he's not going to believe that. He's like, oh, that's interesting. It's like, oh, wait, he did. And I think that's a larger conversation throughout this episode too. And it's something that Marie makes a point of. It's like, oh, he believes everything when it comes to me. It's almost like this confirmation bias that Arthur has. Because you make him feel good, he's willing to overlook a lot of stuff. Even though Arthur can be insightful and notice things, he's usually on top of things. But when it comes to Marie, like, he just kind of like, the red flags are there, that she isn't who she appears to be, but he's willing to ignore it all because of how she makes him feel, Because he's still under the impression, like, well, what I'm feeling towards her is because she's a robot. If she was a real person, I wouldn't be feeling this. And it's like, the irony, it's like, but it's also like, there's a little bit of a catch-22, because it's like, well, she is a real human, but you're feeling the way you're feeling about her because she's a robot, but you're thinking you're feeling the way you're feeling is because she's a robot, when in actuality, she's a human. So it's like, maybe you do you've just never, like, living the life you've lived has kind of ostracized you away from people. You've always assumed people want something from you, that you can't trust them. And, the way your family has interacted with you has made you very distrustful of people. And so this is the first time you've ever let anyone get this close. So, like I said, there is a really interesting catch-22 about it all. But in this moment, like, Arthur ends up, like, kissing her on the forehead, and she panics and she runs away, and it's like, what do I do? How do I face the master? But, like, the next day, it's like, wait, he's not saying anything. Because I guess he was kind of, but then he notices, like, wait, she's not immediately saying good morning because she usually says it back. And so now it's like, wait, what's going on here? Things are a little odd. Things are a little off. So he keeps trying to, like, see, like, oh, there's something going on here. So he's trying to get to the bottom of it. So he creates these very, like, kind of steamy situation. Oh, she's wiping down the glass of, like, some of the mirrors or whatever, or like any glass that's throughout the house, and he puts his hand on top of hers. But like she like starts like robot movements and starts making like like clanking and robotic noises, and then like like she's glitching and like malfunctioning by like walking into the wall and stuff, acting odd. That was her way to kind of throw Arthur off. But Roy took it as, yeah, Arthur's only going to find out. He's going to find out soon enough, so you have to leave. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to fire you. Like, you're too close to being discovered, and I appreciate what you've done. And obviously for Maria, it's like, but I'll do better. Like I just want to stay by his side. But it's like it's going to hurt. The truth will come out eventually, but it's like the longer this goes on, like the more it's going to hurt anyway. So, and Marie understands that, and she doesn't want to hurt Arthur, but it feels good and it feels nice to be here to look after him in that way and capacity, because she does care for him. But it's like, don't worry, we've got your replacement in place. And we saw her in the intro. I thought that was Marie somehow like getting like mechanical stuff attached to herself to be more robotic. I didn't realize it is a separate character, Marie too, who is an actual proper robot. Which I'm sure there's some level of like weirdness about that when it's like, oh, this is an actual proper robot when you're supposed to be pretending to be a robot, but it looks like you, it's designed like you, but it's meant to be a better version of you. So that's got to make you feel a certain way when it's like, oh, this thing kind of came and took my position, but it's better that it's here because at the very least it might not get caught up in the emotional stuff. Like it doesn't have to hide, being a robot, because it actually is one. So there's less hurt and pain that's going to go through all this. So it's like it works out in the end because it's better for Arthur in the long run, and it'll do a better job of serving him where like it won't get flustered and, like I said, have to like balance lying to him and stuff. But immediately Arthur could feel like things aren't the same. It's not quite the same because it's not Marie. Like, sure, it might be better and it accounts for him better because, yes, it's an actual robot. So it handles things like a robot would with no emotion and just very like platonically and systematically, but it doesn't have that warmth that comes from Marie. Once again, the catch 22 is because she's actually human. Marie ends up packing all her stuff, which I immediately was like, probably want to be careful about that because he'll probably have some questions about why do you have a suitcase. But the argument could be like, oh yeah, there's like mechanical stuff in here. I mean, he also did give her clothes and stuff, so there could be stuff that that could be you could like hand wave that stuff away. But Roy even told her she could keep the uniform because she's like, oh, I'll wash it and return it. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. Because his plan was like, oh, we will make sure everything's taken care of. You'll be living comfortably just far, far away. So I don't know if her family's debts have already been paid off or they're still in the process of being paid off. But it's like, no, for the services you've done so far, you will continue to kind of be taken care of because of what you did. You kind of put yourself in danger, kind of taking this like weird gig. But she decided, like, no, I'm not going to keep the uniform because there's going to be too many memories associated. And Roy sees how much this is affecting her. But it's like, right, like he does like Marie and he's enjoyed the time they've spent together and he appreciates what she's done. But it's also like, right, looking after Arthur, doing what's kind of best for him is his top priority. So, and just for Marie, it's just kind of like, yeah, like I wanted to stay by his side, even if it was just like a little while longer. I didn't think, time would run out. But Arthur comes out and he's like, right, something's going on, something you're hiding from me. And then Marie, too, proceeds to attack Marie because, all she has cognizant wise is, oh, I register you as a threat because you are top level, like, fighter, and I can tell that. So you're like a level 5 threat, so I need it. Like, it immediately tries to attack Marie. But because Arthur cares about her, he gets in the way. It's like, well, a robot should have its directives to not hurt its master. And it didn't even get a chance to short circuit because Marie immediately went in attack mode and ended up destroying it. So, and the whole thing at the end of the day is like, oh my God, you were malfunctioning, weren't you? And you and Roy were trying to hide it from me. That's why Marie too is there. He's like, don't worry, like we'll get you fixed. And she's like, I'm already fixed. He's like, wait, already? He's like, okay, cool. So he's like, so you can come back to serving me. And she's like, yeah. And he like holds her up in a very like very much like the end of a romantic movie type of way. The way he was like had her in his arms, being like, just stay with me, like forever. And she's like, I want to stay with you forever. It's like a really, really sweet and very beautiful. But we're not done with Marie too, because she's gonna be sticking around to kind of help. So it's like, oh, you'll both work together to serve Arthur. Which I even love the narrator's like, oh my god, what is this, the start of a love triangle? He's like, absolutely not. I love that he immediately sets it up just to immediately dead it to be like, nah, that's not a thing. That's not going to happen. So it is going to be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out. Like, I'm sure there's going to be situations where Marie 2 comes in handy, being the full-blown robot that she is, and the shenanigans that ensues from that. Like, will she just be this continuous main character going forward? Or will there be instances of like she's not in the show because she's kind of put in a back burner because Marie said it seems like they're going to be operating at the same time. So it's like how that kind of gets played out is really going to be interesting. How that gets navigated going forward. That whole dynamic. Because I think there probably could end up being a little bit of jealousy on Marie's part, where it's just like, well, like, you know, I mean, to be fair, Arthur made his choice in choosing OG Marie over Marie 2, but it's also still the element of like, yes, she can do stuff better than me. There's stuff that I'm not capable of doing, but she's able to as an actual robot. So I'm just so curious to see how that all plays out, how that all goes. I'm also curious to see if we get a lot more with Carl and Charlotte. Will they end up popping up time from time as his main, maybe only contributors and supporters, but we'll see. I'm interested to see what the next episode has in store for us with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.